Welcome to Quick Bite, your fast and friendly Florida insurance
Hello. This is Rashonda, agency owner of the ISOM Insurance Group here in the Sunshine State of Florida, back again with another Quick Bite episode, your fast and informative insurance market update. Today is Wednesday, November 26, 2025, hump day. And also, it's the day before Thanksgiving. Before we all dive into turkey and travel, I wanted to take a break to break down an extremely timely article from Yahoo Personal Finance published on November 21st titled, "What is a No-Fault State and How Does It Impact Your Auto Insurance?" With millions of people hitting the roads this week, many traveling across state lines, this is the perfect moment to understand exactly what no fault means, how it affects your coverage, which states use it, and what the pros and cons really are. We're going to go through this article section by section, break down the definitions, compare states, explain thresholds, and talk about how PIP truly works. And yes, we'll put it all into everyday language so you understand how this impacts you, your passengers, your out of pocket expenses after an accident. Let's jump right in. The article begins with a simple but important definition. A no-fault state limits your ability to sue another driver for injuries or pain and suffering after a car accident. Instead of each driver turns to their own insurance for medical costs, regardless of who caused the crash. That's why states like Florida require PIP, or what is also considered personal injury protection coverage, which pays for your injuries, your passengers' injuries, and pays regardless of fault. So even if someone rear ends you, your injuries go through your policy first. And the same is true for the other driver. Their injuries go through their policy first. This does not mean, and this is very important, this does not mean that there is no fault. That fault does not matter. A fault can still be assessed for the accident. And like I've said before in other videos, Florida is a comparative negligence state, which means that fault can be assessed at 1%, 2%, 10%, 100%, 50-50, at any percentage. It just, so for no fault coverage, it just means injury related costs begin with your own coverage first. The ability to sue is still there in many no fault states, but it limits the severe cases or causes that surpass certain thresholds. That's the core behind no fault insurance. Fast medical payment, less litigation, more predictability. The article points out that no fault systems aren't all the same. Different states apply the rules in different ways. Some states have strict, true no fault systems. Some have choice no fault, or you can opt out, and others require PIP but don't restrict lawsuits. Let's break each one down. The true no fault states are listed in the article, as you can see on the screen. And as you can see, Florida, we are a true no fault state, along with the other ones listed on the screen. If you live in one of these states, you must carry no fault medical coverage, typically personal injury protection, and you have limited rights to sue unless your injuries meet specific state thresholds. For example, Florida uses monetary thresholds and verbal thresholds. New York requires severe injury or medical expenses above 50,000 before you can sue. So the rules aren't identical, but the general structure is the same. These are the states where you can opt out of the no fault system. Um, the article lists Kentucky, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. In these states, you have the option to file a document rejecting the no fault system, but opting out comes with consequences. If you reject no fault protection, you keep your right to sue others, but you also open yourself up to being sued. In other words, you remove the shield and say, I want full tort rights and full tort exposure. Some people prefer that, others don't. but the key is you have a choice. The article then lists another category, states that require PIP or MedPay but don't have no fault lawsuit restrictions. These include Delaware, PIP required, Maine, MedPay required, New Hampshire, insurance not required but MedPay required if insured, Oregon, PIP required, Washington, D.C., PIP required. These states use PIP, but they do not limit your right to sue. So technically, they aren't considered no fault states, but they do have no fault medical components. This is an important distinction because sometimes people hear PIP required and assume the state is no fault, not always. The article explains that in no fault states, if you're injured in an accident, you file a claim with your own insurance company first, no matter who caused the crash. Your PIP or MedPay covers emergency care, hospitalization, medical bills, lost wages, which is only under PIP. Services like childcare or housekeeping, which again could be covered under PIP coverage, and in some states, even funeral expenses. The article clarifies the difference between PIP and MedPay too. PIP is broader. It pays medical costs and indirect expenses like lost wages. MedPay is simpler, or medical payment coverage. It pays medical bills only, no lost wages or service benefits. And importantly, property damage is not covered by no fault rules. So if someone hits your car, the at fault driver still pays for your damages to your vehicle and still can be responsible for your injuries if you have any out of pocket expenses or things that are not covered by your no fault coverage, especially here in Florida. You still can go after the at fault party for your damages. The article highlights several benefits of no fault laws. First, claims are processed faster. There's no waiting to determine fault before medical bills can be paid. Second, litigation is reduced. Many minor injury cases never reach court because medical coverage is already handled. Third, you're protected even if the other driver is uninsured or underinsured. PIP responds regardless. It doesn't matter what coverage the other person has. These advantages make the system feel simpler and more stable for basic crashes. But the article also covers the downside, and these are important. These are important. In a no-fault state, your right to sue may be limited unless your injuries meet specific thresholds. This can feel restrictive, especially for long-term injuries or cases involving chronic pain. Stacking your premiums might increase even when you didn't cause the accident. Your PIP claim is filed under your policy, so your insurer sees it as your loss. And third, auto policies may be more expensive because of the additional coverage requirements. In other words, no fault systems simplify some things, but they can come with a financial trade off. The article shifts into practical guidance for drivers living in no fault states. The first point is understanding your state's minimum requirements. Some states require only basic PIP limits, others require higher limits or additional benefits, and some, as we covered earlier, allow opt outs. The next point is considering additional coverage. Minimums are rarely enough to fully protect you and your passengers. For example, Florida's mandatory $10,000 PIP limit can be reached quickly with today's medical costs. So the article encourages drivers to compare carriers, review deductibles, understand exclusions, and talk to agents like me about the right protection levels. This is where your independent agent, like yours truly, becomes essential because no two drivers have the same risk profile. The article then goes into rapid fire FAQs, and these are the questions people ask me every single day. One question: is no fault insurance the same as liability coverage? No. Liability covers injuries and property damage you cause to others. No fault coverage pays for your own injuries. Another question: can you still be sued in no fault state? The answer is yes, but the injury must surpass a certain threshold. Some states use monetary thresholds like 1,000 or 2,000 in medical costs. Others, like New York, use injury severity thresholds like disability, dismemberment, or permanent loss of function. One more question. Who pays for vehicle damage? Even in a no-fault states, the at-fault driver is responsible for property damage. No-fault systems apply strictly to medical coverage. This is one of the biggest misconceptions drivers have, and this article clears it up very well. This article couldn't be more timely for Florida, especially heading into the holidays. Florida is a true no-fault state, and PIP or personal injury protection coverage is required. We've talked in previous episodes about potential reforms or repeal possibilities in upcoming legislative sessions, and today's article helps frame exactly what no-fault means, why it exists, and what protection it provides. Whether we eventually keep PIP, modify it, or transition to a new system, every Florida driver should understand no fault doesn't mean no responsibility. No fault doesn't mean no liability. No fault means your medical bills start with your own policy, so you get faster, more predictable coverage right after a crash. Understanding that can make all the difference when choosing the right coverage for you and your family. And as I was saying that, addressing that, I did discuss in the episode for Monday of this week about the potential of no fault in the upcoming legislative session for Florida. They're talking about potentially getting rid of personal injury protection coverage. So go back and review that video. That's all, folks. Now I'll love to hear from you. If you found this quick bite helpful, please like this video, share it with your friends and neighbors, and drop a comment below with any topics or questions that you'd like for me to address in a future episode. And remember, a new Quick Bite episode drops Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. This video is for informational purposes only, educational purposes only. It should not be taken as legal, tax, or specific insurance advice. Please consult with a licensed insurance professional about your unique situation. Before I go, I want to wish each and every one of you a very happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. I hope you enjoy the day. I hope you enjoy time with your friends and family. And I hope you eat as much as you like because you deserve it. This is Rashonda with the ISOM Insurance Group here in sunny Florida. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Stay safe out there. Bye.
Thank you for watching. Visit us at isomInsuranceGroup.com.